Jesus, this guy smokes a lot of cigarettes and drinks a lot of coffee. I do everything a lot. I'm an alcoholic. I'm an addict. I do everything a lot because that's just my nature. So, step 8 and 9, we're going to do together just like we did 4, 5, 6, and 7 because of the way they flow together in the book. So, step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. There's that word willing again. Willingness is the key to this whole fucking ordeal. So, the second I become willing to admit that I'm an alcoholic or an addict and my life is unmanageable, the second that I say there's a power greater than myself that can restore me to sanity, and we talked about that before. I don't know the definition of sanity. Um, but the minute we do that, the door starts to open, and we're free to walk through that door into a life of recovery, into a life of happiness, into a life that we've never experienced before. So I'm walking around in recovery. I'm willing. All of a sudden, I decide to try to take my will back. Boom, door slams shut. The second that I pick that key back up of willingness, the second that I pick it up and say, I fucked up. I tried to run the show. I tried to do things my way and it didn't work out. I forgot myself. But the minute that I pick up that key of willingness, that door opens right back up. You know, my self will, my ideas of how to run my life will get me drunk. They'll get me high. They'll get me dead. So, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So, I've wronged you somehow. I see you on the street. I have to be ready at that moment to come up to you and say, hey, this is what happened. This is what I did. Whether you knew that I did it or not, this is what it was. And then I have to accept the consequences. I have to accept your decision on whether or not you're going to accept the amends. Doesn't matter whether you accept it or not. Doesn't matter if we never speak again, in the sense that I've done what I'm supposed to do, which is made the amends. Now, step 9 says, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would cause them harm, or, well, it's actually would injure them or others. But if I'm going to cause you harm by making my amends, if I'm going to affect your life negatively or your job or your relationship, then I'm not going to make that amends because I don't have that right to negatively affect your life. So let's go with an example that I've heard many, many times in recovery. Not a personal experience, but something that I've heard. Okay, so there's Joe. Joe's married to Kathy. Well, a couple of years ago, while you were in active addiction, you and Kathy slept together. Joe doesn't know. Do I have a right to go and tell Joe, hey, man, this is what I did. I'm sorry. So this is when you get your sponsor or another person in the program, or you pray to your higher power and say, hey, this is what's going on. How do I handle this? What do I do? Because, going and doing so might ruin Joe's marriage. Things might be good between them. We don't know if he knows or not. Maybe Kathy told him. Don't know. But it's not my right to run the risk of ruining his relationship or his job or his children's relationship with him. So I make the amends privately to my higher power and leave it at that. That's what I personally would do or advise you to do. But do I still owe Kathy an amends? Yes, I do, because she was married and I knew it, and I took her hostage in my ride through, the despair, the depths of hell that I was going through. I took a hostage. That's what we do. We take hostages. We think we're in love, but we take hostages. So I owe Kathy an amends to go and tell her, hey, I had no right to involve you into my life of, depravity. Um, and you make your amends, you do whatever. So, but what if somebody's gone? What if the person that you owe an amends is dead? Okay, so case in point, and this is a personal experience. I owed amends to my mom and to my dad. Um, I never ever told them about being molested, never gave them an opportunity to make things right or stop it or whatever may have happened. Because in my mind, I believe they would never believe me and they would never accept that the person that did it did it. So I never gave them an opportunity. I never gave them a chance. And I had resentments towards my mom and dad because of that. And I had somebody pointed out to me that I had no right to be resentful because I never gave them a chance. And with my mom, her ashes are with somebody that I don't speak to, that I don't want in my life. So I had to make my amends through my higher power and through prayer to my mom. And I made the amends and I felt better. When it came to my dad is buried in the National Cemetery in Rittman, Ohio. I went to his graveside, and there was a lot on my chest when it came to my dad, a lot of things that had happened. So I yelled at him, cried with him, begged of him, and then finally forgave him and also made the amends where I apologized to him for never giving him the chance to be the dad that I know in my heart now these days that he probably would have been. So I left that graveside feeling really, really good because I left it all on the table. I cleaned up my side of the fucking street. I got rid of what was weighing heavy on my heart. And I'm learning now through this program that forgiveness is for me. I've forgiven people from my past and I'm better, so writing the list, making the amends kind of sucks, but it's actually very freeing, very liberating. Um, and it's not really as hard as it sounds. 4 and 5 were hard, and I feel for you. If you've just done 4 and 5, or you're in the midst of 4 and 5, I feel for you because it does suck. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, and things do get better. And when you do get to the amends part, a lot of the time when you make amends, you're going to find that you come away with a better relationship with that person and a better understanding of how you affected them. Because when you make that amends, you have to be prepared to listen to what that person has to say. So if I come to you and I make my amends and you call me a dirty bastard, what the fuck were you thinking? Whatever. I'm going to stand there and listen with an open mind and an open heart to what you have to say because this is my opportunity to understand better how I affected you. So the amends are good as far as it makes that other person maybe not whole again, but it does make them aware of the fact that you are aware of what you did and you accept responsibility. Now, there is a downside to some amends for some people. Sometimes it can cost you restitution, jail time, court cases, alimony, child support, um, friendships. There are risks to it, but the risks are minimal compared to the reward. So, then you have other situations. Like I was faced with this. This is a personal experience. I was faced with a situation not too long ago with somebody who I cared deeply for, that there was a situation that happened that I was involved in loosely, and this person was looking for the truth, and they deserved the truth. So I couldn't actually make an amends for what it was because it affected some other people and it was negatively. But this person had a right to know the truth. So I didn't approach it from a standpoint of I'm making an amends so much as I'm making a confession to you to let you know the truth of the whole situation. And the truth is what you seek. And, I made sure that the person understood that by no means was I trying to cause problem or affect other relationships in their life. And the person accepted it for what it was. Um, but I talked to somebody else before I did it and got their opinion and their take on it. So 8 and 9, just do them. It's not as bad as what you think. Um, some things may not go your way, but it's life, you know. Sober, son of a bitch, everything's real. It's uh, something that somebody told me early in my recovery that really, really rings true more and more the longer I'm sober. So 8 and 9, do them. I love you all, and I'll see you soon.